strategic SEO lead generation. Your customers will likely set about searching for information that will help them with their problem or need before looking for companies to provide the necessary product or service. Now, as a marketer, it's important to fully appreciate Google's mission to customers, which is to provide them with the best search results possible. Which is why, if you set about producing content for the topic at hand and purposefully nurturing inbound links from media sources to that content, Google is likely to recognize you as the best search results for that problem or need. So this is where a different approach to SEO can make a huge difference. By strategically setting out to gather leads from people who are on course to have a need for what you can help them with, you can create an evergreen source of qualified traffic which you don't pay for. And if you implement this as a strategy, what you'll end up with is your own metaphorical poultry farm of small golden egg-laying geese. Hello, good afternoon. My name's James Rostance, and this is the 414 Live. It's for you as a professional B2B marketer, whether you work in-house at a company or at a B2B agency, or indeed, if you're a company executive with a hands-on role in your company's sales and marketing activities. And every single week, I speak with some of the greatest and most interesting minds in B2B marketing so that you can directly expand and enhance your professional knowledge with every single episode. And this week, we're diving into the world of strategic SEO lead generation. We've covered SEO in a few different angles on the show before now, but this week, we're really honing in on creating, as I mentioned in the intro just there, an evergreen source of qualified leads for the very thing which you help them with. Hopefully that's going to be of massive use to you. So to help with this, we're going to cross over now live to the UK this week, over to Wapping in the, I believe it's the Tobacco Docks in London there. Please welcome Michael Chidzi. Good afternoon, Michael.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Hey. It is the Tobacco Dock, isn't it? That's what you said it was, where you are right now?
It is. I do feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I'm actually at home, which is about 10 minutes away from there. Our office is based in Tobacco Dock.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know roughly where that is, but that's, okay, that would have been where they did, I guess, a lot of importing and exporting of tobacco then previously. Legally, I imagine, right?
Yeah, it used to be one of the securest docks in London. So it had gold, tobacco, everything.
Right, and now it's a nice housing area. Is that the deal?
No, it's an event space, a conference center, it's offices, and yeah, there's residential around, but not in it. There's a rooftop bar. It's great.
Gotta love a rooftop bar. All right. Hey, look, thank you ever so much for joining us today. And let's start things off with, as an overview, what is your approach to SEO?
Sure. So to me, it's basically presenting the best possible version of your business to search engines and users, so that you get rewarded in the search results, which then gets you relevant traffic and gets you leads, sales, whatever your goals are. But it's essentially about trying to be the best online.
Okay, so good. That's. I just wanted to completely set the playing field because then we all know where we're coming from. So, what do you see as being the main mistakes or lost opportunities, even that people make when it comes to SEO?
So there's loads actually. Often it can be things like technical issues. Where you have things like duplicate content, where you have multiple versions of your website or multiple pages that compete with one another. It can be things like slow page speeds, which basically it will be more of that will matter way more next month because there's a new page experience update coming in. But obviously that's just really annoying for users, and then that's passing through bad signals to search engines, which means you're not being rewarded. I think things like companies come up with strategies such as rebrands or need to change the technology they're using. And we'll just make those changes to things like site structure, because obviously things like a new CMS can impact all your links, but without sort of thinking about SEO. So they end up losing lots of traffic that they'd earned over time. It can, yeah, it can basically be, doing loads of things at once. So if you're doing a rebrand, you may decide to change the name of the company, which means domain, but often you then change design, you change content, you change all of those things, which can end up confusing Google. And it just means that what you've built over time, you end up losing. There can be things like the most important aspects of a business, such as product pages and so on, are quite hard for not just people to find, but also search engine bots. So it just means that from a site structure point of view, you're not helping Google understand what are the most important pages, and therefore, particularly with flat structures where you have blog posts at the same level as product pages, as category pages, and so on. And obviously there's no hierarchy there. So you're making life a bit harder. Things like rubbish links or poor quality links, where companies find out that they basically, they read somewhere that they need to build links, and sort of follow some advice that maybe they've read on blogs or from an expert. And when you actually look at some of those links and you think, do you really want your brand associated with that type of place? It's not basically great signals that you're sort of passing through.
Got it.
So it can be things like that.
I'm very much picking up here then that what you've just covered right there goes back to we covered in the intro for the show, is that it's about giving about Google's mission to people to give the best search results. So what you were covering there is saying that if you're giving Google mixed messages from different content sources, and of the way you just listed, then Google doesn't, I guess, rate you as highly because you're not as clear saying, right, this page is for this. Is that the correct way to interpret that?
Yeah, exactly. I think where possible, you just want to avoid confusing Google. The other side of that is you do want to try and be the best possible search results. So, you were talking before about Google's mission. Obviously, if you've got a page on a service that you offer, and competitors have as well, but it's not quite as strong, then it makes total sense that Google would pass value over to them, and therefore they would outrank you. But yeah, it's loads of different signals. Lots of companies have issues that such as Google can't even access the site or crawl those key pages. So it's very, very easy if you don't think about SEO when you have a website, when you're creating a website, all of that work and all of that effort that you're putting in can be totally wasted.
Got it. Okay, so as we do every single week, we always set about delivering on the promise to viewers and listeners on the topic at hand. And today, very much, it's strategic SEO lead generation. So bearing in mind the goal right here is to bring in leads and traffic specific to your product or service. Could you talk us through your strategy for SEO lead generation?
Yeah, sure. So quite often, if I'm working on a project, I always start with the sort of, we call it visioning, but it's sort of essentially building a brief for an SEO project, whether that's a new website or whether that's that you're not getting sort of those inquiries or sales or the relevant traffic that sort of you're after. So that very first part in terms of building the brief always starts with, like a lot of marketing strategies, starts with who you're targeting. But rather than solely focusing on things like geography, age, gender, and so on, from an SEO point of view, we tend to focus on those users and their interests, but more importantly, their pain points. So the sort of problems that they're having, that they need help solving, and therefore your product or service would help. So for example, if you take a conference venue, a bit like Tobacco Dock, and the target audience for somebody organizing a conference may be a PA who's been given the job of organizing it. And so if that's not something they do every single day, I would start with a project like that, where I'd be thinking about, okay, well, what would that person be thinking if they need to organize a conference either for the first time or again? And so it may be that they firstly want to look at, well, how to organize a conference, or it may be that that they want to look at sort of best conferences of 2020 to sort of get an idea of, get some inspiration. And there are loads of tools and things that you can use to sort of come up with those pain points. Such as, there's one that I love is called Answer the Public, where you put those sort of terms in that you think are relevant, and all of a sudden you get a tree of questions and topics surrounding that sort of really helps you to start to develop what really matters to that person. And then also thinking about your direct competitors and how you compare to them, and what makes you unique and special. And then I personally really like going through reviews, Trustpilot or Google reviews, and sort of just going through and seeing why people buy from you, what they like about you, what they don't like about you. And I also like doing that for competitors as well, to see if there's a bit of a difference. Really start to get that, yeah.
Before we go much further into this, this is solid stuff, by the way, but I really wanted to make it clear and kind of recap on what you've just covered, which is that the whole strategy in itself does indeed start with you sitting down, and I think you called it a vision board, was it?
We just say it's sort of a visioning session. So
visioning session, okay, and this is specifically where you're mapping out and you're, I guess, brainstorming, right, of what your target customers might want help with, or indeed what they're searching for, what they're likely to search for. That is that on point with what you were covering just now?
Yes, correct. Because yes. Absolutely, and one really good tactic is to sit down with the team and actually take that business and say, so imagine it's a team building company. Just say, to the team, what does the best team building company in London look like online? And then a question like that starts. So rather than starting with Google and just trying to be as good as everybody else, you then start coming up with ideas in terms of the product. It might be lots of other things.
I really like that. Yes. So just for everyone watching in right now, so you're just covering a key bit, which for me was you ask yourself specifically, what does the best company who does X or Y do? And then that's going to lead you to creating the content to ultimately produce and put out there.
Yeah, exactly. And you also start coming up with loads of other ideas. So when we do this, we're often sort of thinking, okay, well, obviously the best team building company has loads of great reviews, and they would be writing about staff happiness, and you start just coming up with all these ideas. And at this stage, it's not. It's really important not to just go with something. It's just at that stage going, what could we be? What are the aspirations for the site, and so on. And also at this stage, obviously, you're sort of thinking about, you're sort of building that brief in terms of whether SEO is even right for your business. So obviously going through that with the team and sort of trying to work out what could we be. And what are other people doing, and what do people like about us, and most importantly, what do our customers care about, and and what are their problems, what do we solve, and yeah, so that first part is really important in terms of building that brief and working out why you're doing this and who you're doing it for, and at this stage, what's the potential.
Brilliant. I'm really liking this because, yeah, it's just so on point with delivering on the promise that you're ultimately going to be creating in the individual channels of customer. Would it be right to call them customer inquiries? No, they're not really inquiries at this stage, is it? It's more helping them in individual channels of, would you say, customer research? What terminology would you apply to this?
So do you mean in terms of the pain points and the sort of personas? Is that what you mean in terms of?
No. I was going down the route of reaffirming that you're going to this effort to ultimately capture people in their early investigatory stage of them looking into their problem or need that they have. I was just hoping for a bit of clarification on maybe the terminology that you would use.
I see. So at this stage, it really is just ideas, and a lot of the time, and this is particular with SEO. Quite a lot of people think about sort of the long tail and how we sort of try and capture people when they're sort of looking for things that is sort of very early on in the funnel. But obviously putting that content, if you start creating a content strategy that covers all of that, but then you're linking back to your core pages, it's also about passing on that value to those core pages that sort of rank for your head terms, or you would like them to rank for your head terms. So it's even just having some of your latest posts on your homepage or some of your product pages will, just by publishing fresh content, obviously you're giving Google a reason to come back and crawl it and so on, and it's relevant from a topical point of view. So at this point, it's not necessarily we're definitely going to go with these ideas. It's more just trying to build a picture of what are all the problems that these people have, and where do we fit into that, and potentially we could use some of this for content, or not, or maybe it's some link building. You could use it for PR activities. It's more just finding out about that person, all those people, and how you solve their problems, which would then hopefully lead your content strategy or your other tactics.
Perfect. Got it. Okay. Right. Well, for everyone watching and listening right now, it might be a little bit early to drop this in, but if you have a specific question which you'd like to throw into the mix, or you'd like some further clarity on anything that Michael's covering right now, then please do put it on the comments section, and I will put it to Dr. Michael live on the air right now. I've recently started promoting all my guests to doctor level.
Nice.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, just a thing. There we go. Yeah, so live doctor surgery with Michael this afternoon on strategic SEO lead generation. Mike, hey, next question then in that case. What would you say are the key elements to success in order to get it right with strategic SEO lead generation?
Sure. Okay. So obviously the first thing you need to do is get a picture of where you are now from an SEO point of view. Find out the sort of current situation. So it may be that you use tools like Screaming Frog or Deep Crawl or Sitebulb to sort of simulate crawls across your website. A bit like Googlebot, so you basically see your site like a search engine would, and find those sort of technical issues that may be holding the performance back, and also where there are opportunities to grow. So there's the sort of technical side, and then obviously there's tools like Google Analytics. So to find out what's currently happening on the site and where you may be wasting opportunities, or where the site might be slow, or what your core pages are, where you're losing users, which pages are doing really, really well, and sort of is that something that you potentially replicate in the future? And then also using a tool like Google Search Console to look at how people are currently finding your site, what terms are they using, and not just what I love about a tool like Google Search Console is it provides all keyword data, not just for people that land on your site, but also what searches you appear for as well. So you start to get a real picture in terms of where the site is currently, and it gives you things like average rankings, and there are tools like advanced web ranking and Hrefs and SEMrush that you can also use to track rankings. And that's just sort of where you currently appear for sort of key positions. But it just gives you sort of a state of play in terms of where you are at the moment. And then for me, the next steps would be to sort of obviously pull that all together, and you then sort of thinking about the potential for the site. So when you're sort of looking at search competitors, or you're looking at your keyword data that you found, you start looking at things like search volumes. You start looking at the relevancy of those terms for what you actually offer, and obviously commercial intent as well. So you start sort of building that picture of at the very beginning, sort of a vision of where the site could be, and what does good look like. Then you sort of have a look at the current state of SEO in terms of how you're doing at the moment, and then I would say focus on what is the potential. So how many people are there looking for products and services that we offer, and I think it's at that point, because obviously SEO isn't for every business, and it's at that point that you sort of go, right, do we spend money and invest in this? Because obviously SEO takes a lot of time. Being the best online is as hard sometimes as it is in real life. And what you don't want to do is make some of those mistakes where you're creating content because you think you need to create content, or build links because you need to, because you think you need to. Sorry, but if it isn't doing anything, that there's no point. So
doing it for the sake of doing it, which I can imagine a lot of people fall into the trap of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also need to untangle in the future. So if you've created tons and tons of content, and then you decide to consolidate the site and rebrand and so on, it just takes forever to sort those things out.
Okay, right. Well, let's step it up a gear then. In that case, so we've covered quite beautifully already the initial part for planning, and who you're going to go after, and the what might help them crucially with their search. Could we now just cover something along the lines of actual examples of contents that hopefully that you've your favorite examples of content that you've purposely set about creating that has been and you've done that because of having identified that's what people will be searching for, that's what people will help them. So what would be some of your favorite examples of content that you've produced in this sense? Yeah. That was a long question, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Right.
So for what it's worth, with all of these examples, or with anything we do, in terms of SEO, everything that you want to do is focusing on improving rankings for those core pages. So even though I'll tell you about some of my examples, but they might seem a bit crazy, but actually the purpose is always to sort of drive links to the sites that improves the entire website, or it might be that you've got an engaging content strategy that actually makes people remember you, and again passes that value on to sort of those core pages. But yeah, you could do things such as, if you don't mind, I'll mention some things that I've done in my previous company. I don't think clients would like me sharing things, but things that I've actually done myself.
Yeah.
So my old company was part of it. Chilli Sauce. They have a corporate event section. So B2B, dealing with PAs, internal event organizers, and so on.
Sorry. could you just clarify what does Chilli Sauce do first of all?
Sorry. So Chilli Sauce is an events company.
Okay.
And they do lots of different types of events. They do stag do's, hen do's, corporate events, and so on. But I thought for this, because of the nature of the podcast, I'll focus on the B2B side. So the corporate events and organizing venues and for conferences and so on. But for example, we a version for coming up with good content is sometimes people just think, okay, that's video or that is a blog post. But for us, it used to be coming up with product ideas. So as I said, it was an events company. They used to organize conferences and they'd find venues for people. So we built a partnership with Endemol, who are the production company. And so when the Big Brother house wasn't being used for filming, we would use it for parties and events and so conferences. But we would sort of package that up as a team building experience, and then go out to press to sort of generate links to those product pages, which was on the London product page, and it just sort of, as you can see, it sort of passes that value over. So the idea of being locked away in the Big Brother house with your boss, as you can imagine, got lots of press, and it's an example of something we did year after year. Did a Dragon's Day inspired experience where you got to pitch your ideas to sort of celebrities and your company directors to improve the company, because it's a team building idea. That took place in the real Dragon's Den loft. Did things like, for the blog, we didn't just want to be like everybody else, where how to organize a theme or for an event or so on. Instead, we did things like I challenged our intern to for breast cancer campaigns. We're at Pink Day, and then the following year, we thought a good campaign, good content would be to put the bra on eBay to raise money for the charity, but also got loads of attention in the press and so on. So I built blogs as well, and we do loads of. I've done loads of sort of content strategies in terms of creative brief for an event, or how to organize a Christmas party and things like that obviously help drive traffic, but campaigns like that get you not just attention in national papers, but then also linking through to your site is a bit like a vote of confidence for Google. So when Google's crawling the web and seeing that these really trusted places are linking to your site, it's a really good signal. And so that's what I mean by sort of creative content. We put when we
Oh, well, I just wanted to highlight what you just done there, because for everyone watching, I don't want to steal your thunder in terms of being the SEO expert, not at all. But certainly my understanding is that all links are not made equal. So a link from a new blog is not a patch from, I don't know, one from the Telegraph, maybe. So what you're doing there with creating these campaigns is creating super high quality inbound links from trustable, high-ranking sites, which in turn reflects well on your search ranking. That's the correct way to assess what you've just covered there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think when it comes to link building or digital PR or whatever you want to call it, those links that are really hard for other people to replicate are always the best ones. Anybody can go and list in a free directory or go and guest blog somewhere that asks you to guest blog. But as you can imagine, they don't, like a brand new blog, they're not going to pass any value on. Whereas coming up with those campaigns where, the BBC and the people genuinely talk about as well, that I think that's the important thing, that has that sort of pub factor, that somebody might say, oh, did you see that huge bra on the side of the ITV tower? Or, did you hear about that guy that hitchhiked from London to Germany with his office chair? Those are the sort of things that that's the way I would recommend doing link building.
And that's all of that work rather is going to pay off. In fact, on that point of work, now what you've described so far is really solid, and I can very much appreciate how that's going to benefit in the long term. But I am acutely aware that this is all going to take a decent amount of work to plan it in the first place, and then execute it, and then implement, if they're two separate things. So in order to do this, you're going to need to get buy-in, aren't you, from other team members and management from the company. How do you set about getting buy-in from everyone else in the company in order to make this kind of thing happen?
Sure. So you're right. All of this stuff that I've mentioned, it isn't just something you could do tomorrow. It does take planning, and it's a lot of brainstorming and creativity as well. And as you can imagine, when there's a cost, to sort of build a bra and all of this sort of stuff, the Guinness World Records, world's largest bra. I totally get it all the time that. It's very expensive, but I think it's a case of going back to what we said at the beginning in terms of building a business case where you look at the potential, you look at where you are now, and actually it's something like that could make the difference. And that there are some really good, along with search volumes, there are some really good click-through rate studies as well on blogs like Advanced Web Ranking, where they explain across thousands of websites how many clicks position 1 gets, position 2, and position 3. And I think if you've got a business or you work in an industry where there is huge search volume and it is competitive, and actually your link profile isn't as strong as say some of the others, then actually you have to do something like that. Otherwise you're really going to struggle to compete, and therefore it is a bit of a waste of time.
Is there a way that you can quantify maybe that? I realize that this is not a question we've talked about before, but I'd love to be able to quantify in terms of getting buy-in from everyone else in the company. An actual bottom line figure to say, hey, look, the inbound links from this traffic source are worth X, whereas otherwise we would be paying Y if this was a paid campaign. So therefore, it's way better value and with that cheaper to do it this way. Are there any kind of metrics that you can use or share to help with that?
Yeah, so something to bear in mind though, with when you're comparing SEO to things like paid campaigns, they only last for as long as you pay for them, right? Whereas something like SEO, it's something that if you do now and you work really hard at, it's something that compounds over time, but also you'll continue to see the benefit, providing you continue to be the best online, like we talked about. I think the way I do it with on some websites for this situation is we take particular pages or particular sections, such as if it's a travel company, for example, it might be a particular location. And actually you can sort of you can see from as long as you're segmenting data and things like analytics, and you've got things linked into your CRM and CMS, you can get an idea of, okay, well, I know that if we get this amount of traffic to this particular page, it's worth this to us. I would basically work on building if I was you, I would work on building a business case around what would it mean if we managed to get 24% of clicks who are actively looking for this particular, who are looking for this particular product. If we got them onto our website, what's currently happening what are the conversion rates like at the moment, and start to build a business case like that. Obviously, every business is different, whether it's leads being passed on to a sales team, or whether it's something being sort of bought there on the site, or if actually it's something else. It might just be sign up. So you'd have to sort of look at the individual business and build a proper case for that. And obviously you can look at things like, you can use tools such as Ahrefs or Moz or SEMrush to get an idea of the different link profiles, to sort of see, and you can compare that to things like rankings. Sorry, I'm trying not to make this sound too complex. Obviously, those campaigns that we talked about there are sort of your sort of big hitters, but actually they don't always have to be really expensive. We were once looking for creative, good people, and what we did was put the head of corporate events in a sandwich board on Oxford Street and on the Tube and so on, saying that, and that got coverage from all the event press at the time. So it doesn't always have to be these huge campaigns, but using something like that as a test case to see, okay, well, did we get links and what was the impact? I think with anything to do with SEO, as long as you're using something like a rank tracker from day one and setting out those KPIs like you talked about, you're able to see if you're going in the right direction of travel or not. Sorry, I know that is totally an SEO sort of it depends kind of answer, but it's so difficult when we're talking about so many different types of businesses.
Yeah. Michael, to be fair, I thought that was a really good answer, because it's something we've gone into on the show before now, the concept that marketers, unfortunately, of all the many things we're brilliant at, marketing ourselves internally is not necessarily a strong point. And in fairness, it does need work. So in doing something like this, to create the business case and then to be able to share it and also keep people updated to demonstrate the value that you've realized from the campaign. I think that's a wonderful thing. And it was very good to get you to actually quantify that and say, right, this is how you do it. Because now, all being well, marketers watching and listening will be able to go off and do that. I need to do. Oh,
sorry. May I also just add to that obviously it's not just SEO as well. If you're optimizing a page, for example, that can help with things like quality scores in AdWords that can reduce costs there. Or actually, if you're producing loads of great content and you're doing interesting campaigns, that's something for social. So I think there's also it should always be a bit more than just SEO. Although I do appreciate that this is an SEO strategic lead generation talk. So.
Yeah, no, nicely done. I was just going to give a shout out to Gamdan Alriki. He's loving your topic today. Gamdan, he's a regular viewer of the show, a friend of the show, and loves SEO, but particularly this. And good, yeah. This is definitely proving valuable so far. So, I guess I wanted to ask you next then, what does success look like when you've got this nicely nailed and everything's flowing smoothly?
Success looks like, for me, when you see that growth in, if it's inquiries, leads, sales over time, and that correlates to things like your impressions, clicks, rankings improving. I think the main metric for me is just sort of revenue, really. And if we're going in the right direction of travel based on what we've been doing, that's the most important thing. If you can get as scientific in terms of which pages are earning X and are they improving in terms of rankings, then if we're sitting around a table saying we've got 500 more inquiries this month because of stuff we've done over the last 6 months, and we're hoping we're going to do the same next month and so on, then that's pretty good. That's obviously the aspiration. But that's not the case for everybody. Obviously, it's in some cases it may be a new website, and success may be that actually not only are we getting people on the site, but actually they are managing to inquire, and that might be that it depends on the situation. But ultimately, people invest in this to increase their revenue and sales.
Totally get that. Nice, thank you. All right, in that case, I've just noticed the time. We've got an extended show going on here already, so I will charge ahead with my 2 final questions in that case. And the next one will be, what would be your advice for initiating a strategic SEO lead generation campaign as a marketing channel?
What would be my advice? I think going back to that sort of research framework that we started with, and start looking at what the potential could be and whether it's right for your business, and then obviously looking for the quick wins. So can you prove concept quite quickly? We've talked quite a lot about creative campaigns, but it may be that you've got two versions of your website that you didn't realize you had because you're serving it on the www and without the www, or HTTPS and HTTP. And actually, maybe that's just a conversation with the developer, and you because of that, and because where you want to go, if you start seeing rankings improve and traffic based on those sort of things, it helps with other things. So we didn't, our first SEO campaign wasn't to sort of send somebody out to Germany when I was working at Chilli Sauce to do that. It was coming up with some great content ideas, and it was improving the products and that sort of stuff. So I think looking for those quick wins, or what you're really good at, and just trying to be the best, really. So rather than doing everything at once, maybe it's we're going to produce one really amazing blog post a week on this particular topic because this is what people care about, and we're going to slice that up and use it on SlideShare, and we're going to make a video out of it, and we're going to use it on social media and so on. So it's sorry, I realize we're running over, so I should stop talking.
I didn't want to pressure you as well. No, that is good in itself. And in fact, I always make a point of asking that question, simply because it is tricky to know where to start. You might be sold on the idea, but knowing where to start, or rather not knowing where to start, is commonly something that trips people up and prevents them from doing so. So just as a recap there then, so the core starting point is...
I thought you were going to recap then. The core starting point is starting with where are we at the moment? What do we want to achieve? And what are some ideas that could either improve the performance of the website based on what we've learned, could earn us links pointing from some trusted sources, or could be engaging content that people actually want to read, share, or it could be developing our products, our product pages, or actually the products themselves, so that we deserve to beat the competitors and other search competitors like publications and so on that also rank for it. I guess it depends on the business. Like if it's a brand new business, or it's a sort of a new product of the business, it might actually not be SEO on your site, but it might be looking for things that already rank, such as the top 10 project management tools, and it might be trying to persuade, because we already think our product's the best, it might be trying to persuade the person that wrote that to include our option, and actually get some inquiries and direct traffic from something that already ranks really well.
With you. Nice. Right. In that case, could I ask just one more, which is, what would you like the audience to have as a core takeaway from this whole subject of strategic SEO lead generation?
I think the main thing is really, do you deserve to rank, and how do you be the best online? How do you show the best possible version of your organization? And it may be as simple as, actually, I don't need a website. I just need a really optimized Google My Business profile. I need to really focus on that, and get lots of reviews and so on. Alternatively, it might be that we need to do something that makes us stand out and showcase our company's personality and what makes us different through a huge PR campaign. So I think it's just what does the best look like, and how do we do that online?
Thank you. And that's all then giving Google those signals to then drive the lead generation traffic to your website, or specifically your page.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. All right, Michael. I think we've just hit the marker right there. We've hopefully delivered on the promise of today's show, and yeah, that was really cool. Well, hello, Michael Chizzy, live from Wapping in London, in the UK. Thank you ever so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you've enjoyed watching, then if you have not already, then please do subscribe to the 414.net. If you head over there, you can enter your email address so that you never miss a weekly episode. Because every week I send out an email to give you a rundown of what's on the current episode, as well as a link to view, and then a link to watch the forthcoming live show for that particular week. So for the www.414.net is where you can sign up for the show, and to check out all previous episodes. This has been episode number 80 this week. So there we go. The 414, every week for you as a professional B2B marketer, for you to directly expand and enhance your professional knowledge with every single episode, where I speak with some of the greatest and most interesting minds in B2B marketing. Alrighty, well, my name's James Rostance, and I hope you found this of use, and I'll see you here same time next week.